Good afternoon. Welcome to Business 360, your complete view of the stories driving business, markets, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin, and this is the Bilyonaryo News Channel. 3 former public works officials now face dozens of criminal tax charges over unpaid liabilities, topping 1.68 billion pesos in the latest fallout from the flood control scandal. Ukraine is looking to strengthen ties with the Philippines and the rest of Southeast Asia. We talk trade diplomacy with Ukraine Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv. And Meralco's solar unit partners with 2 Tokyo firms to put rooftop solar on Japanese companies nationwide. The Department of Justice approves the filing of tax evasion charges against 3 former public works officials linked to the flood control scandal. Among those facing charges are the so-called BGC boys, referred to as the Bulacan Group of Contractors, Henry Alcantara, Bryce Hernandez, and JP Mendoza. The DOJ found probable cause to indict the 3 for alleged violations of the National Internal Revenue Code. The cases are set to be filed before the Court of Tax Appeals. The complaints stemmed from a Bureau of Internal Revenue investigation, which reconstructed their income by comparing lifestyle spending against earnings declared in their tax filings. Alcantara accounted for the largest deficiency, an estimated 913.8 million pesos, followed by Hernandez at 593.8 million and Mendoza at 179.8 million. Local government units are set to get a bigger slice in the national tax allotment next year. LGUs will receive 1.32 trillion pesos, an 11% increase from this year's allotment, thanks to higher tax collections in 2024. Davao City lands the biggest share among cities at over 11 billion pesos, followed by Quezon City and Manila. Malacanang is fast-tracking work on the 2027 national budget. Executive Secretary Ralph Recto has directed government agencies to speed up program delivery in the second half of 2026 while finalizing next year's spending plan. During a June 22 meeting with cabinet officials, Recto reviewed agency budget utilization and priority expenditures. Under the 2027 Budget Priorities Framework, the Department of Budget and Management says 6 sectors will get top priority: food, security, education, healthcare infrastructure, and climate resilience and digitalization. The Bureau of Customs says the government has approved the release of about 30 million pesos for the delivery of stranded OFW shipments. This as the BOC investigates the abandonment of more than 42,000 balikbayan boxes belonging to over 30,000 OFWs. On BNC's memo with Corina Sanchez, Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno said the shipments were left unclaimed after consolidators failed to pay required port charges and taxes. He added many of the boxes were delayed for years, causing goods to expire or become unsuitable for delivery.
Lumapit kami kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos dahil wala naman kaming budget para naman yung forwarding cost, ibig sabihin yung mga maliliit na truck na pupunta sa mga bahay sa kasulok-sulukan po ng bansa, pupunta naman to sila magdi-deliver doon. Kailangan namin ng mahigit 30 million pesos. Lumapit ako kay Secretary Frederick Go. Sumang-ayon naman siya kagad at maganda naman, umuo naman kagad ang presidente. Napondohan po natin to ng libre, napadala na po namin sa halos lahat po ng mga 42,000 boxes. Mahigit 1,000 na lang yung hindi namin na-deliver.
The BOC chief said 6 companies have been charged with large-scale syndicated estafa and other cases, with more expected. To prevent similar incidents, the BOC has already blacklisted some of these companies and is pushing for full digitalization. In other news, energy firms push new plans in solar expansion, nuclear studies, and asset investments. Jillian Geronimo has today's top corporate stories.
Meralco Solar Units M Spectrum has formed a joint venture with two Japanese companies to develop solar projects in the Philippines. The partnership with Tokyo Century and JFE Engineering Corporations will focus on rooftop and ground-mounted systems for commercial and industrial customers. The new company will target Japanese firms operating in the country. Officials said the venture will help expand the use of clean energy amid rising power demand. First Gen said nuclear power may become part of the country's future energy mix as land for new energy projects becomes limited. The company is monitoring developments in small modular reactors as a possible source of additional power capacity. First Gen later clarified that it has not made any capital investments or development plans for nuclear energy. The company said its efforts are currently limited to studying the technology and global developments. It added its nuclear research has no current impact on its operations or financial position. And the board of directors of SP New Energy Corporation approved a budget for a planned asset infusion with its parent company MGen Renewable Energy. Jillian Geronimo, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Shakey's Pizza Asia Ventures remains hopeful that its potato corner and kiosk business will help support performance amid weak consumer spending. The company said its portfolio of restaurants and kiosks provides some resilience during periods of discretionary spending pressure. It confirmed about 15 to 20 store closures this year, mainly under the Peri Peri brand as part of network restructuring. But Shakey said its core brand continues to expand with 5 net openings and more stores expected to open this year. The company notes it is taking modest price increases and cost efficiency measures while system-wide sales remain in double-digit growth. The Philippines Stock Exchange Index closed back to the 6,000 level, tracking the Asian rally. The PSEI surged more than 1% in today's session, with nearly all indices in the green. The biggest winner was ICTSI, up more than 5%. Jollibee gained more than 3.5% after Hyperdynamic bought more shares yesterday. Ayala Land also got a boost from parent company Ayala Corporation, which purchased 10 million common shares. Most Asian markets also had a good day. South Korea's Kospi surged nearly 6% thanks to semiconductor firm SK Hynix. It's planning to debut on Wall Street under the Nasdaq, hoping to raise about $29 billion. Samsung and semiconductor shares on the Kospi also rallied. This after U.S. chip giants Micron and Qualcomm beat profit expectations, easing AI fears. Japan's Nikkei 225 also up by more than 4.5%, but the Japanese yen is still trading 40-year lows. Meanwhile, Wall Street stocks closed subdued. Dow Jones closed slightly higher, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq slightly lower. At that time, investors were nervous about Micron's earnings, but Wall Street futures show that stocks are headed for recovery. We're taking a quick break. Coming up, we talk trade diplomacy with Ukrainian ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Ukraine is looking to strengthen ties with the Philippines and the rest of Southeast Asia. Joining us to discuss trade, investment, and future cooperation in the region is Ukraine Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency Yuliia Fediv. Welcome to Business 360.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm happy to be here.
You are the first resident Ukrainian ambassador to the Philippines, correct?
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Can you tell our viewers how diplomatic relations were established between our two countries?
Actually, next year we will celebrate 35th anniversary of our bilateral relationship.
Okay.
So April 7, 1992, we established our diplomatic relationship after Ukraine gained its independence back in 1991. And during these last 30 plus years, our bilateral relationship were not so active, unfortunately.
Well, we didn't have a resident ambassador, right?
We didn't have the resident ambassador, yes. But we have our first political consultation held in 2010. And in 2024, we had historic visit, the first visit of Ukrainian president to the Philippines, when our president Volodymyr Zelensky met Ferdinand Marcos Jr., actually June 2024, and then the decision was made to finally establish the resident embassy here in Manila. And in December 2024, so just after 6 months of the presidential visit, we established the embassy. And I arrived March 2025, so we are here already almost 1.5 years in Manila. And in April this year, we had a second political consultation. So after 16 years of break, at the level of our deputy minister, foreign minister, Alexander Mishchenko, and the undersecretary of DFA, Ms. Herrera Lim. And after that, we also develop some mid-term and short-term agenda for the next years, how to improve our cooperation in different fields, so on political level and also on economical level, and for sure people-to-people connection. And Ukrainian side has already submitted to the Department of Trade and Investment the first draft on creation of the Joint Commission on Trade, Investment and Scientific Technological Cooperation. So now we are waiting for the reply from DTI to finally sign this MOU and create the joint commission between two ministries. Also, we already received the counter draft of MOU in agriculture from the Department of Agriculture. And also we are expanding our cooperation in culture and creative industries between the National Commission on Culture and Arts and the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine. Last but not least, we're also expanding our cooperation in cybersecurity and defense. We are now also just received the counter draft from the Department of Defense to our Ministry of Defense on strengthening cooperation also in defense technology. So there are many things are going on, and it's a big challenge for me as a first resident ambassador to start planting the seeds. And I hope in the next 35 years we will already celebrate many joint projects in different domains, and specifically also explore each other's history, culture, and just to bridge our people, our institutions, because it's good to have this framework, government to government, but I think it's more important to have business to business and people to people cooperation, even taking into consideration that the distance between Kyiv and Manila is more than 10,000 kilometers. But since the full-scale invasion in 2022, Ukraine felt it that the world is much smaller, and actually the unity and international law and the same values are really important, and especially between the small and medium countries. And that's why in 2022 Ukraine joined the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation with ASEAN, and we want also to expand our cooperation with all 11 ASEAN member states, and the next step will be the sectoral dialogue partnership, hopefully, especially in food security and digital transformation and culture and education, as always.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. There's so much potential.
Yes, it is, you know. Yeah. And I really love it because it's always great to build something from the scratch and then to see the results of your work.
Yeah, when we first met at the Makati Business Club, I was quite amazed to find that there is already a significant trade between Ukraine and the Philippines. How big was the trade before, and how has it grown since the establishment of the embassy here?
When we take the numbers from 2025, it's 60 million US dollars trade between our countries. So we didn't manage to expand it much within only 1 year. You know better than me that for businesses we need more time. But yes, so it's mostly agriculture based, and especially from the side of Ukraine, we are exporting the wheat here, and soybeans and other agricultural products. And from the Philippines, mostly we import the small electronics and also the banana chips. Actually, also it's and we import more from the Philippines than we export to the Philippines. And we are thankful to the existing business networks like Makati Business Club, European Chamber of Commerce, Philippine Chamber of Commerce, NordCham Philippines, to taking us as a member before the Ukrainian businesses will come to the Philippines in order to explore the business climate here and to transmit this information to our Ukrainian businesses. And actually just recently, we finally signed the MOU between Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and the Philippine Chamber of Commerce. And in July, we will have the first business forum. We expect the delegation from Ukrainian businesses arriving to Manila and meeting finally in person the Philippine counterparts. In different fields, not only agriculture and food and beverage, but also creative industries like textile and fashion, yes, and some digital tools like high-tech and other IT instruments which can be used by businesses and by public service representatives, and also, last but not least, hopefully in defense technology too.
Well, you know, if you guys like our banana chips, you should try our mangoes, huh?
For sure. We explore also importing of the fruits from the Philippines.
Yeah, and we make dried mangoes, which is
I know, yes,
less perishable.
Yes, processed foods, yes, for sure. And the same from Ukraine. We also want to expand more on berries and nuts and to export them from Ukraine to the Philippines, like blueberries, for example.
Yeah.
And also the meat, yes. We are also meat eaters, like the Filipinos, so I think we can also expand the cooperation in this field too.
So what are the other goods and commodities in that trade today, and where are the possible areas for expansion?
For sure, it's in the beef industry. In March, we had the delegation from Ukraine, from the Meat Association,
yes.
And they met with the Department of Agriculture and all agencies under the department to explore the market. And now we are on the final stage. We are expecting the inspection from the Philippines coming to Ukraine end of this year or in the beginning of next year. And after the inspection, hopefully we will get the certification, and Ukrainian poultry, pig meat and beef meat will enter the Filipino market. Also, we are interested in exploring, as I said already, berries and nuts and other plants to be exported from Ukraine to the Philippines and from the Philippines to Ukraine, like you already said. It's like mango, bananas, and also the proceed food, like canned food, especially during the war. It's really important for Ukraine.
Yeah.
For example, like tuna and other kind of fish products, which are canned, because, you know, during the war we understand that all your belongings should fit into one backpack, and a canned food can save your life, you know, for a few weeks. That's why, yes, we can expand on that. Yes, different kind of chips, yes, and dried fruits in both ways, because also the Ukrainian food and beverage are open.
What about medicine and pharmaceuticals?
Yeah, pharmaceutical too. Yes, yes. Ukrainian pharma is interested in going to the Filipino markets, and we have already some representatives here.
Okay, great.
So yes, it's also healthcare system is also one of the priority for both countries.
Yeah, you guys have a great healthcare system.
Yes. Yes, we try our best. And, even the war showed us that we have really great small and medium enterprises who not only preserve the internal economy, but also expand the external markets. 65% of Ukrainian products exported around the world during the war. Yes.
Yeah, that's a powerhouse economy.
Yes, since 2023, we have exported 330,000 tons of food. Wow. We have created a special program, Food from Ukraine, through the Ukrainian sea corridors, and we exported to 55 plus countries in the global south, here in Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
Yeah, you guys don't just have food security, you have a surplus.
We are the breadbasket of Europe, and we understand that many countries rely on us, and we want to be reciprocally supportive to our allies and partners around the world, including the Philippines.
Are we looking at developing maybe a free trade agreement between Ukraine and the Philippines?
It's a dream of mine to have the free trade agreement, but at the same time, as you know, Ukraine is heading to become the member of the European Union.
Yes.
And our colleagues at the European Union are now working on free trade agreement with the Philippines.
Yeah, that's supposed to be signed next month.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully we will, combine these two great events, Ukraine joining the European Union and becoming part of FTA.
Fantastic.
With the Philippines.
Yeah. So you're both an industrial and agricultural powerhouse, even despite the war, or maybe even the war emphasized that. Are you looking particularly towards Asia and the ASEAN region for growth and development?
Yes, actually it was one of the main part of the special strategy which was developed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2022, Ukraine ASEAN, where we emphasized different domains in which we can strengthen cooperation with the whole ASEAN member states.
Do you have resident ambassadors in all of the
Yes, in the 6 countries from 11 we have resident ambassadors.
Yes.
And my colleagues are working hard, and I think that trade and agriculture are the main domains in which we are strengthening the cooperation, because the food security is a big issue, and also the digital transformation, and I think and cybersecurity. So I think these 3 domains are potential for the bilaterals and multilaterals between Ukraine and ASEAN member states.
Okay, is there, so there's obviously a lot of interest in export from the Ukraine, but is there Ukrainian interest in foreign direct investment in the Philippines?
I think it's the next step, because as you know, now Ukraine is still in the phase of war, and we as a country also need much investment for reconstruction and recovery. But for sure, especially the big businesses are exploring the new markets for the investments, especially in the new technology and other domains, more for the future. But still, I think it's the next step for us, as we still need to invest more in our country in order to preserve the economy and hopefully to find the long-lasting and just peace for us as Ukraine. And actually, Ukrainian government created a special envoys for the reconstruction of Ukraine. And we also proposed the Philippine government and Philippine businesses to be part of and to have their own special envoy for the reconstruction and investment in Ukraine. And it's not only about the money, it's also about the possibility to explore from inside the developments which are ongoing in Ukraine from the digital point of view and from the economic point of view. And it could
so
be
many
beneficial.
opportunities.
Yes, I think we are both growing economies, and I think we have much more in common than we think. And I think that is my role here, to open the doors, the windows, and all other parts of this house of the cooperation, and to show the potential, which I see personally, because I am visionary from my DNA, and I always love to see something which can be explored by others in the nearest future, and it's our role as ambassadors to do the job here.
So how do you see our relationship between our two countries evolving, and what are your goals as an ambassador?
First of all, I want to create the working mechanism between the governments. So it would be great this or next year to establish the Joint Commission on Trade and Investment, where our governments can meet twice a year and exchange on the developments and also to develop the action plans which we can follow. Secondly, it would be great to get all certification for both for Ukrainian businesses to enter the Filipino markets and vice versa, and also to get the Filipino representatives to Ukraine despite the war, because we have security protocols, and you know that many countries around the world are traveling to Ukraine and doing business with Ukraine, and to see the numbers growing, you know. So I hope that the next year or in 2 years we can already talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars in our trade and our bilateral trade, and also to have representatives of Ukrainian businesses here in Manila and vice versa, because I think that many of our businesses are present in the region, but more in the Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, so in countries where we had the embassies for more years than here in the Philippines. So I hope to see those businesses entering the Philippine market too.
Great. Besides an end to the current military conflict, what would be an ideal situation to develop a mutually beneficial relationship between our two countries?
I think it's just people-to-people connection, you know, when the people of Ukraine will be more educated about the Philippines, about the culture, history, the economical developments, and also vice versa, the people of the Philippines will know more about Ukraine, and not only through the lens of war, because now we are everywhere on the news feeds, but still it's also changing because so many conflicts, unfortunately, are happening around the world, but also to see Ukraine as Ukraine, you know, to see the people behind these, you know, news feeds, and also to start bridging the people, the institution, because I believe that the ambassadors are changing, the politicians are changing, but the institution remains, and they create the ecosystem of our societies. And when I will bridge as many institutions as possible, I will create this safe space for both of our countries, where we can grow the new projects, the new ideas, and then in the nearest future we will see already the results, you know, in expanding the trade, in having the business representatives, in opening the Ukrainian restaurants, you know, Ukrainian fashion brands, and vice versa. We have no Filipino restaurant in Ukraine, so I would happy when I will come back home, you know, to maintain exploring the Filipino cuisine, to have some restaurant there and the great fashion brands. And, you know, I can go further in different fields of economy and culture and creative industries, etc. And also just on this human and political level, to understand that we share the common values and we both countries stick to the international law, and we should maintain supporting each other, not only at the UN level, but also at the regional level within ASEAN, within the European Union, and for sure bilaterally, to be vocal and to support, because I think that we are much aligned, and you know, having this background in culture, I have done cross-cultural analysis, and I see so much similarities between us, and I hope I can show it to both sides, and you know, to build this solid ground for the future bilaterals.
That's just wonderful. I'm glad to hear there's so much potential to be developed.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you for joining us here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you. Thank you once again.
More stories when we return. Business 360 will be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial is just less than 2 weeks away. And the House prosecution wants more evidence on the table. Top of the list, the sealed BIR box allegedly tied to the Vice President. Hannah T is on the line with the details. Hannah?
Yes, Apa, the House prosecution panel will push to have the sealed BIR box linked to Vice President Sara Duterte marked as evidence today, while continuing to insist that its contents should also be opened during the pre-trial conference. House Prosecutor Terry Ridon said the panel expects the box itself to be marked as object evidence, even if its contents remain sealed. The box was formally transmitted from the House to the Senate, unsealed as part of the prosecution's evidence. Ridon said the box is believed to contain the tax records of the Vice President, her husband, and their businesses to allow the documents to be pre-marked before trial. Ridon said the records are crucial to the prosecution's unexplained wealth case, as they will be compared with Duterte's SALENS from 2007 to 2024, her declared 88.5 million peso net worth in 2024, as well as AMLAC reports and bank records that the prosecution plans to present during the trial. Apa Ridon also reiterated that the prosecution will present Mary Grace Piatos as a key witness, saying her existence or non-existence goes to the heart of the alleged misuse of confidential funds. Despite the ongoing pre-trial, Ridon said the prosecution remains confident that the impeachment trial will still begin as scheduled on July 6, even if the marking of evidence continues for another day or two. But Apa, both the defense and prosecution earlier declared optimism that the pretrial stage of the impeachment case will finish this afternoon. Back to you, Apa.
Thank you for that report, Hannah T. Wrong guy, wrong address. Senator Chis Escudero is denying allegations that he received kickbacks from the allegedly anomalous flood control project. The so-called Maleta boys said they delivered suitcases with cash to Escudero. But Escudero explains that's not true because he and former Congressman Saldico are not on good terms. Escudero adds that the address cited by his accusers was also incorrect. Cybersecurity analyst Art Samaniego warns that Gorebox, the violent game linked to the deadly Tacloban school shooting, is far from the only one of its kind. Samaniego said he's compiling a list of similar games, including titles like Melon Playground and Warbox. He says these games allow players to act out extreme violence with no limits.
Banning is not the issue. Banning is not the solution here. What we need to do is look deeply into where the problem is. Ano ba yung root cause ng problem natin ngayon? So the root cause of our problem, una, content. We need to check the content. So now, for example, the gambling sites, anyone can just log in or can just join and check and lie about their age. So ito yung dapat nating tingnan, wherein the government should look into things on how we could stop this negative content proliferating online.
Interior Secretary John Vic Remulla called for a permanent nationwide ban on Gorebox, which is temporarily banned. But Samaniego said banning games is not enough to protect children.
Pero ito the Gorebox is rated 18 plus yung age niya dapat. So how come these kids who are, this guy, the shooter, 14 years old, bakit niya na-access yun? So, dito na papasok yung law enforcement natin. We need proper monitoring and do not allow, and kids should not be allowed to play these games. So, total ban is not the answer, but proper law enforcement and proper monitoring would be the solution to the problem.
We're taking a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Business 360. I'm Apa Ongpin. Venezuela was rocked by back-to-back earthquakes today. A 7.2 magnitude quake struck west of its capital, Caracas, followed by less than a minute later by a 7.5 magnitude tremor. As of writing, 32 people have died while over 700 are injured. During the earthquake, many Venezuelans were at home celebrating the public holiday commemorating their 1821 victory and independence from Spain. Closer to home, a magnitude 6.9 earthquake hit Japan's northeast coast this morning. There's no tsunami warning and so far no reported injuries. The area is home to the Onagawa and Higashidori nuclear plants, but both report no problems. The Trump administration is asking Congress for nearly $88 billion in extra funding for military operations in Iran. The request comes even after lawmakers voted to end the war. It quickly drew pushback from both Democrats and Republicans. They say the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to send troops to war. They are accusing Trump of overstepping his authority. The United Arab Emirates is now offering visa on arrival privileges to qualified Filipinos. The DFA says applicants must hold a valid visa, residence permit, or green card from certain countries. These countries include the United States, the United Kingdom, European Union member states, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand. U.S. authorities have seized more than $30 million, luxury cars, and jewelry from Filipino-American nurse Mariel Yuki, accused in a massive healthcare fund fraud scheme that we reported here the other day. The assets include $594,000 Ferrari and an $865,000 custom Bulgari necklace. Yuki was charged in a Texas federal court over her alleged role in the scheme. Prosecutors say she and her accomplices billed Medicare and TRICARE for unnecessary wound care procedures, targeting elderly patients, including some in hospice care. In all, the group allegedly filed about $906 million in false claims between October 2023 and April 2026. Wealthy property buyers are flocking to Spain as a safe haven from wars and political turmoil. These investors come from the United States, Poland, Ukraine, and the Middle East. They're supposedly seeking refuge in Madrid and Costa del Sol. Official data shows that in 2025, more than 39% of home sales in Spain's major tourist provinces went to foreign buyers. In sports, more than just developing champions, the Junior Golf Foundation is also honing the next generation of leaders, both on and off the course. Anton Rojas has that story.
The future of Philippine golf may very well depend on what happens at the junior level. That is the belief of Junior Golf Foundation of the Philippines President Oliver Gan, who said the organization has spent the past year expanding its reach beyond Metro Manila in an effort to discover talent across the country. According to Gan, the JGFP now regularly stages tournaments in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao to give young golfers more opportunities to compete without the burden of traveling to the capital.
Unlike before that these players from the provinces go to Manila, now we go to them because there are a lot of talents there who cannot afford to fly to Manila.
Gan also highlighted the growing importance of the Super Kit Tournament Series, which gives young Filipino golfers a chance to qualify for international competition in China and gain exposure on the world stage. Among the athletes benefiting from those opportunities is national team member Nicole Gan, who continues to develop her game against stronger competition both at home and abroad. The young golfer said the biggest adjustment has been learning how to prepare consistently while continuing to improve both physically and mentally.
It is definitely a must to up my game, and there are a lot of preparations I have to do, like practicing consistently, also like having to, of course, rest enough, eat properly, and stay hydrated, and of course focusing on my mental game, like staying focused and calm. And like with these preparations, it has helped me feel more confident.
Nicole added that improved strength and greater confidence have been key factors in her development over the past year. For Gan, however, the success of junior golf is not measured solely by trophies or professional careers. He believes the sport's greatest value is in helping young people develop the character and discipline needed to succeed in life.
Golf teaches you discipline, it teaches you perseverance, it teaches you hard work. More important for me is I want to see all these junior golfers succeed in life, no, not just golf.
With more tournaments, expanded grassroots programs, and a growing pool of talent nationwide, the JGFP hopes the next generation of Filipino golfers will be better prepared than ever to compete on the world stage. Anton Rojas, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Bilyonaryo News Channel is expanding its footprint in Central Luzon through a new partnership with regional broadcaster CLTV36 beginning July 6. The deal brings BNC's flagship news and current affairs programming to millions more Filipino viewers. Under the agreement, CLTV36 will air BNC's weekday lineup, including a live simulcast of flagship programs Agenda, On Point, and The Spokes. Viewers can catch the programming on CLTV36's digital terrestrial network, regional cable operators, Cignal Channel 115, and digital streaming platforms. And that's Business 360. We'll keep tracking the moves that matter across markets, policy, and the economy. I'm Apa Ongpin. Thank you for joining us. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.